Hi there, greetings and salutations, and the official kickoff, I think, of the holiday season. Coming off of Thanksgiving and now getting set for, obviously it's cold outside, but the holiday spirit is here upon us. My name is Jay Query, that is Derek Schultz. It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, now charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program here on the ISC Sports Network. And the Colts, Derek, they get the best Christmas gift of all, because they have a bye week, I think, at the ultimate time. I think the best situation is to have a bye late in the year to kind of get yourself healthy for a final push. And the final push is going to be a big one now with Denver. And basically, even though I realize we have a week before we get there, but a win or get in.
Yeah, I mean, they saved
a win to get in.
Let's get this out of the way. They saved their season on Sunday, right? Because if they had lost to the Patriots, then really this Denver game wouldn't have mattered much, I don't think. But you're right. To time the bye right in front of the most important game of the year, a season-defining game, yes. I think normally you would want it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? This is the latest bye that you can have. This is the last bye week of the season. That's a long wait, especially considering, Jake, the preseason and camp. I mean, these guys have been going full bore since late July. That's a long run. But I think where you can look at this as a positive is that the Colts survived, and we're going to talk about this game, right? And kept their season alive by what they did on Sunday, and now they still have everything in front of them. Even the division. Even there is door 2.
I will say it's not like Houston has completely shut that door, right?
It's far more likely that you have to walk through door 1, but door 2 is still technically slightly ajar as well.
By the way, do you have scissors?
Not on me. You know what? I used to carry them in my bag.
You have one like really long hair that's hanging down. They keep really bothering me. It's like distracting the hell out of me.
Is it gray?
No. Yes, it's gray.
Okay.
It's below your glasses line. It's longer than the rest. It's disgusting. It's freaking me out.
Below my glasses line?
Yeah.
Like my eyebrows?
No.
They're coming in because it's cold.
No. Over here on the side.
Yeah.
You have a rogue hair.
Okay. Here, right. just touch it. Point to it, and then I'll pull it out.
Right there. Right there. That one right there? Right there. Yeah, okay.
I didn't feel it, so I don't know where I was trying to rub up against the pen.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It's not even you touching me. It's the pen touching me. Just touch the hair.
I just did.
I didn't feel it.
Look at the screen.
Okay.
Now,
yep.
Okay, now, right there.
I can't. I'm not going to be able to do it unless I can feel it. So, sorry, you're just going to have to deal with it for the rest of the show. Colts knock off the Patriots 25-24. A 19-play.
Can you do this? Can you do this? I might have some hair gel in my bag. No. Below your glasses. Just kind of. Like, that helps a little bit. I mean, it was Aaron. It was pointing right at me.
Okay. A 19-play game-winning drive, which really you just don't see in the NFL. That's the most of a game-winning drive since 2001. You don't see 19-play drives, period. That's like college stuff. That's like Navy, Army, Service Academy, triple option, veer stuff.
Right.
And they got the job done.
In there, right?
3 fourth downs plus a 2-point conversion. But, Jake, look, the result is the Colts won, right? Yay, the Colts won. They were completely outplayed in that game. They were the worst team on Sunday, okay? You can win a game. It's rare. You can win a game when you get outplayed. And the Colts got outplayed. They are extremely, extremely lucky that New England is that bad.
Here's what I thought was interesting. As I'm watching that game, there's just under 8 minutes to go. I think it was 8, right at the 8-minute mark, somewhere in there. And Anthony Richardson throws an interception. He underthrew the ball, and they pan over to him, and he's literally just standing there like this. No movement whatsoever. And I thought to myself, okay, either A, he's waiting because he thinks this is going to be reviewed because he doesn't think it was an interception, or B, he is completely incredulous and it's gone. And he's like, you know what, I can't solve the Rubik's Cube here. No. I don't know. I'm either overthrowing it or now I'm underthrowing it. Or C, he is looking at all of it, processing it, and thinking, given another opportunity and another drive, this is not going to happen again. And I really felt like that might have been, and we'll see, but that could have been a real turning point, not only in the season for Anthony Richardson, quite truthfully, but just in the growth of him in the career. And it was C. He when they needed him to make plays, he was able to make plays. Now, Derek, the one thing where I'm cautiously optimistic about Anthony Richardson is this. His ability to run the football is extending plays and drives for him. And they are now, give credit to Shane Steichen and Jim Bob Cooter, they were like, you know what, enough of this. We've got to rely on this guy's bread and butter, which are his legs. The problem is if you start to rely and lean on that too heavily and you have not fully evolved consistency in the passing game, once the legs go away or he gets hurt or whatever, then you're back to square one. I think there are areas where his physical traits and his unique abilities are masking areas of deficiency that Chris Ballard truthfully has yet to address and that everybody else on the planet knows needs to be addressed. And I'm hoping that they don't say, we don't actually now need to address the tight end situation or stability on the line because we got a quarterback here that can run the football. I don't think that's going to be the case, but
at the same time, you knew you were going to have to lean into those things, his ability to run, right, while you developed everything else.
Right.
Outside of the personnel, which you're exactly right. I mean, the personnel, the drops, the things like that, he's not getting a lot of help. I was worried that this was going to be another one of those Lions games where the box score was going to be ridiculed by people who didn't watch the game, not knowing that he actually played at a fairly high level. I thought Anthony Richardson played well for the most part, but the box score wouldn't have told you that, especially if the Colts ended up losing that game, because before the game-winning drive, I think they had something like 177 total yards, just to kind of underline how thoroughly they were outplayed. But you're right, his running ability and the two-point conversion, that's a big weapon to have, where he had the option to hand off to Taylor, but he decided not to, and he could just power his way into the end zone because he's a big physical dude. I guess, Jake, where I struggle is that, I'm seeing after the game, like, pictures of Quentin Nelson doing the full, thing like this, and hearing some of the, wow, what a gritty win in New England, and I'm just kind of like, he gave up like 450 yards to a 3-win New England team. And they missed a 25-yard field goal. They were 2 of 6 in the red zone.
Drake May looked like Drake Triumph.
Yeah, the interception bounced off a foot, off a head, off an ear, off a palm tree into the hands of Julian Blackmon. I mean, give me a break. The Colts were extremely lucky to win that game. And I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad the season's alive, and I'm glad Anthony Richardson looked good and engineered a game-winning drive. That's wonderful. And I hope that they're still alive, and they beat Denver. I'll be changing my tune. But, Jake, the bottom line is the Colts are playing much closer to the Jets and Patriots level than they are anywhere within the stratosphere of the Lions and Bills level.
There is no doubt about this. If the Colts are the beneficiaries of the fact that the AFC sucks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally the AFC right now is on Black Friday, because I'm one of the few like masochists that's into this. For whatever reason, every year, the day after Thanksgiving, I love going to the mall.
Yeah, you like people. I think that's what it is, right? You just like people watching.
And I see people that I grew up with, or nostalgically, I love it because it's the kickoff of the season, right? So I decided that I'm going to do that on Friday. And I went to the fashion mall, and it was an absolute disaster. Parking was like playing Tetris with cars.
Parking at the fashion mall.
It's a disaster, right? But that's what the AFC felt like. I'm sitting there looking up there, and I'm like, there's 2 cars moving. Okay, there's Kansas City and Buffalo. And then, wait a minute, this car, like, what are they doing? They just got out of lane. That's Houston. It looks like, no, wait, now they're back in the middle of it. And
wait, they're just correcting. They're not pulling out.
Like, this car over here, like, they just changed 4 tires, and they're getting back in. That's Miami. Yeah. And then, but now I've got the Jets and the Bengals and the Browns and these other teams. They're all dead on the side of the road. It's just a disaster, right? That's literally the AFC. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, the Colts are in the mix. And I don't mean to say this to poo-poo. I've got a holiday gift for you. So the holiday spirit is here.
Awesome.
And I don't mean to do this to rain. We can do it right now, to rain on the parade of the holidays. But the reality is, sure, the Colts mathematically, and even with the game in Denver, they are very much in the chance and the chase to get into a playoff situation. They ain't going to do anything. They get in the playoffs, what's going to happen?
They haven't earned that benefit of the doubt that they can even get into the playoffs. Right. But I do think, Jake, that would be an important step. Even going to the playoffs and losing. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2020. And considering what's happened to the franchise in the 4 years since, that feels like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
That game in Buffalo, that was January of 21. So I do think it would benefit them even if they're quote-unquote not going to do anything. You still want to get on the dance floor.
I mean, if you want to know how long – the Colts, the last time they were in the playoffs, the guy that started at quarterback for them has had 3 children since then. Right?
No, you're right. But kidding aside, 10-7 in making the playoffs is a step forward from last year.
It is.
It's a really weird way to get
I guess
to get
considering
here.
this year was all about the development of Anthony Richardson, that's a pretty positive
I think you would
step.
take that. I think that season would be considered a success, and people say, "Whoa, success is 13-4 and Peyton Manning." Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, look, I understand that in the grand scheme of things, you have higher hopes than just 10-7 and sneaking into the playoffs in a bad AFC. But to me, I would take that.
I'm not a huge gambler. But I did put down one of the over/under dealios on the Colts wins this year.
Yeah.
So let me see what I got them at. I think it was, what was our over/under on wins?
8.5.
Was it 8.5 or 9.5?
I think it was 8.5 because I think it was lower than they were 9 and 8. I remember thinking, oh, their win total is only
here.
8.5.
Here are my open. Now I do like $5 wagers, right?
That's how I do it.
Okay, here we go. For the Colts, I wagered. Wow. For the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, no way. This one I did do a lot because I was the over/under. I have the over/under at 8.5. I have them over/under at 8.5.
Yeah. Okay.
They're at 6 right now, right?
Yeah. They got to win 3 out of 4, so they got to beat Tennessee, Jacksonville, Denver, and who am I missing in
Tennessee
there?
twice, right?
Giants.
Oh, no. Okay,
yeah. If they win 3 out of those 4, they hit.
Okay,
Which looks like a pretty good bet right now.
I'll buy you a beer if it happens.
But again, Jake, it looks like a pretty good bet. The Patriots stink, and they have them dead to rights.
Now here, every year after the Super Bowl, literally the next day I get up and I take $2 and I put it on like 10 different teams. Mm-hmm. Here are the teams that I can win money if they win the Super Bowl, and you tell me if I have a good chance here. I put $2 down for the Colts to win the Super Bowl. Oh no, I'm sorry, to make the conference championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't feel great about that.
I put $2 for the Colts to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now for the teams themselves to win the Super Bowl, here's who I have: the Chargers.
Yeah, all right.
I put down $3. I'd win $80.
Yeah, okay, fine. I don't think it's going to happen, but
the Texans.
Yeah, I feel less good about that. There's something off about them.
The Lions.
Oh, that feels great. Yeah, that feels like a great bet. That's $80 too.
No, I wagered $3. I would win $39.
Okay, yeah, still that's
okay. The Ravens. The Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens are good. Yep.
The Denver Broncos.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's not bad. I thought you were going to say the Jets for one of them or somebody that's already dead.
Denver.
Dallas.
Denver, I got at plus. What is this? Plus 10,000.
Nice. Well, even the Colts right now, Jake, and I understand that 3 out of the 4 teams are bad, and Denver is very beatable. They got to win all 4, right? Denver has a little bit of a tougher stretch coming up here, but I think
Derek, if they lose,
to feel good about yourself, you have to win all 4.
If they lose to Denver, they are.
Well, yeah, absolutely,
out.
Yeah. But I'm talking about could you go 3-1 and beat Denver, but drop one of those other games and still get in? I mean, even that you're sweating it out.
Yeah.
So I do think at 10-7 they will get in the playoffs though. But people act like, oh, it's no big deal. They got the Patriots, they got the Jets. Guys, they were life and death with the Jets, and the Patriots, they needed 3 fourth-down conversions and a 2-point conversion. All of those are coin flips essentially, and they flipped the coin 4 times, and it came up heads each time.
I thought of this. Did you watch the Georgia Tech game?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a theory on this. I got to thinking about this. Okay. In college football, if it goes into overtime and the other team gets the ball and they score, you have a chance, obviously, to score a touchdown. You know, if we are playing, our 2 teams are playing, we're the 2 head coaches in a college football game. We go into overtime. I get the ball first. I score a touchdown. I kick the extra point. I'm up 21-14. Now it's your turn in overtime. Mm-hmm. You score. It's now 21-20. If you kick that extra point, then you're going into a situation then where every single time it's 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you
go for 2 right then?
Yeah, just go for 2 right then.
I don't think he knew the rule.
You really think so?
Yeah. I don't think Brent Key, who's the head coach at Georgia Tech, knew the overtime rule. I had to remind myself because it used to be that the first 2 overtimes you didn't have to go for 2, and then the third you started having to do it, and they changed it. We've seen this happen before.
Go for 2 then, right? Like
Jake, the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I don't think that the coaches knew the overtime rule.
Here's the other thing. In college football, once it gets to us, I understand, the 2-point conversion thing. I mean, I understand the rules of it. But by the time you get to like the 7th one, it kind of feels like, are you really deciding a game here? Or it feels like the overtime thing is a completely different contest, and it's like, does that really count as a season loss?
Maybe just keep going from the 25-yard line like they used to do, right?
Yeah,
it's
or
less
just
kitschy,
or just play 15 minutes,
or play and then it's a tie. Let's still have.
Are you
ties.
excited for your gift?
Sure, but let's keep it until the very. Let's keep it until the very end of the
what
show.
What size you wearing these days?
Shirt?
Medium. Okay.
Why? Why'd you say these days? Like that's.
Well, you're
implying.
I mean, you're getting older.
I am getting older, but I'm still as svelte as always.
Okay.
So the Colts bye week, Denver, they'll get to heal up. Mark Lewinsky, I wanted to give a shout out to.
He played well.
Mark Lewinsky coming in and kind of solidifying
Danny Pinter
that guard
coming
spot.
in and playing in the center position.
I heard Danny Pinter on your show on Monday, who was a guy that I had forgotten was even on the roster.
How would you critique the interview?
It was good. I was happy because I don't think a lot of people probably request Danny Pinter for an interview, so
Right.
I was happy to see him get some love.
Somebody sent me a note saying that in interviews I ask too many questions.
You ask a lot of questions.
It's an interview.
Yeah, it's an interview. I always felt like your strongest suit was the interview. I always thought that was the best thing that you did. You got the most out of people.
Well, I appreciate that.
My interviews were very structured. I always had like a plan of attack of how I was going to interview somebody. Like, okay, I'm going to ask this, and this, and this, and then I would save a lot of times the oddball questions are off the wall. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting that for the very end. Whereas sometimes you come out of the box with those. And I don't know. I was always jealous of that skill because I don't think that I can interview like you can. I can't. I think I'm a.
Can we get a clip of that?
I think I'm a C- level interviewer, and I think you're an A+ level interviewer.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
thank you.
I do. Yeah. Everything else, show hosting wise or just brand wise, I think I'm superior to you. But interviewing is one where, yeah,
Okay.
I would give you a much better grade, much higher grade.
There is college football to discuss as well. Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, we had a crazy and college basketball too because we had a lot of great Butler was an MTE, IU was an MTE, Purdue was in an MTE.
What is MTE?
Butler and Purdue both won their MTEs.
What
Multi-team event.
preseason tournament?
That's kind of an antiquated term now. MTE is what we call those now.
It's a tournament.
Yeah, it's an MTE.
But nobody says that.
Everybody's saying it. Even coaches are saying it now.
It's ridiculous.
It's an MTE. That's I don't know what you want me to say. That's what it's called. Like what is this? This is a delicious sandwich from Hoagies and Hops. What do you want me to call it? It's that's what it is. The preseason tournament events are multi-team events. Multiple teams are in it. It's an MTE. So we got that to talk about too. In fact, I just touched the Sando, so let's go ahead and talk about the Sando.
Can I bite into mine then?
Brought to you by our friends at Hoagies and Hops and our pals at Chili Water Tap Room, 42nd and Boulevard, southwestern edge of Midtown. This is the Zerns.
Tremendous.
Look at that. Smoked ring bologna. Really, really good. I know it's bologna, but it's really like a salami taste. Smoked salami. Really good. Munster. Most underrated sandwich cheese, right? You got a little bit of L. You got some mayo. You got some 9-grain beer mustard. And some red beet pickled egg as well. In-house Christina recipe from back in the old country. The old country being PA.
Now, to wash that down, and this is a perfect time of year for this, the Sticky Fingers, this is new, right? The Imperial Breakfast Stout from our friends at Chili Water. Sticky Fingers is a decadent stout brewed only once a year that combines natural maple syrup. How about that, man? From farms up in the Yooper. Coffee beans from Strange Brew and vanilla beans from Madagascar. The result, a rich, velvety concoction with deep layers of roasty and sweet flavors, all harmonized with the silky smooth finish that fingers the Sticky Fingers here. Ooh,
now, you said brown sugar, right?
Did I say brown sugar? Yeah.
Brown sugar.
See?
Did
I say brown sugar?
They're leaning into the theme here. What else was Wild Horses couldn't drag me. That was Sticky Fingers, wasn't it?
Maybe.
My cousin Timmy Jock was a huge Rolling Stones fan. So I feel like people know from watching this show I'm kind of a music connoisseur.
That is outstanding, by the way.
I know a lot of the track listings for Sticky Fingers.
No, I'm surprised you even know it's the Rolling Stones, but congratulations.
Can't you hear me knocking? That's Sticky Fingers too, right? dragon. I mean, that's people know which song I'm talking about. That's not
Okay.
that's not the best way that it's sung.
Yeah, really?
But Alexis and that's good.
It's very good.
Yeah, Alexis and the rest of the crew at Chili Water.
The coffee taste really comes through.
They celebrated the launch of Sticky Fingers last night, and if I'm not mistaken, we've been doing this with Chili Water for at least 2 years, maybe even longer than that. I don't remember them having a stout. Do you?
One.
Okay.
But
in the can, though? I mean, maybe on tap that I'm misremembering.
Right.
We've tasted a lot of their beers, but I don't remember them having a stout.
Got a breakfast stout. I mean, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. It's the perfect. We talk about a lot of the summer beers, like their
that's
hazy
perfect
IPAs,
winter beer.
This is perfect winter beer.
Yep.
And the Zerns is a great sandwich as well. If you're into trying something new and different, try out the Zerns. We could go Anthony Richardson again, I guess, for Hero of the Week. You know who I actually want to give some credit to, and I was real torn on this person, and especially with the way that he kind of came into the year and what happened in week 2. But Notre Dame hasn't faced the most challenging of schedules. I think we would agree there. But for Marcus Freeman to kind of steer this thing back, Notre Dame very likely is going to end up being maybe the 5 seed. And even if they went 12-0, they would have been the 5 seed. They can't get any higher than that because that's
right.
the trade-off that they made for the college football playoff. They're going to be in the playoff for the 3rd time in the last 7 years. Now, I know a lot of that predates Marcus Freeman. But, Jake, 15 years ago this week, they lost to UConn on Senior Day at Notre Dame Stadium. Charlie Weiss was leaving as a laughingstock. The program was a punchline. And to see where, look, I get that Notre Dame is not where Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson has been or anything. They haven't cracked that first tier, okay? But they've put themselves at the top of the second tier, and that's a lot. For Marcus Freeman to kind of carry that on from Brian Kelly so far, I think that says a lot about where he's got. A lot of hotshot coordinators fail. I mean, look at what just happened at Purdue, right?
Right.
And he was the hotshot coordinator who looked like he was, the first 2 years, you're kind of like, I'm not so sure about this, and now he's got Notre Dame in a good spot.
Yeah, he does, and they're playing very well. No question about that. We got a lot to talk about with the college football playoff because, we'll find out shortly after the airing here, where everybody's going to slot, but there are a couple of teams that you thought were out that are still hanging around that could get back in. I don't think that affects Indiana. I think Indiana's very safe.
Yeah, I think Indiana's safe.
Yeah, but we can get into all that because they got a lot of help.
Yeah, we'll jump into that when we come back.
And I'll have your gift for you.
And, my gift and quick hits and Chateau Kitchen's Butter Bowl. We got a lot to get to. It's Corey and Schultz. Episode, I don't even know, 214? Okay, Vince is giving me the key.
Which games are we going to tonight?
We cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Happy holidays and all that jazz. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
And all that
by
jazz.
Bailey & Wood Financial Group. Let's talk about our friends at Bailey & Wood. 855-350-HOME. BAWFG.com. Was that slow enough for you?
Yeah, that was.
Jake usually busts my chops about how fast I get through the phone number and the website. For Bailey & Wood Financial Group, you're looking to refi? Maybe you've got one of those like 7.5%. I don't even know what the interest rate are. I know they're not 7.5% anymore. You're looking to do that. You're looking to get pre-approval for your mortgage, first-time home buyer. You got to take care of that. Mike Wood and his team, 5-star customer service, branch locations all throughout this great state of Indiana, especially centrally located, or just through the website, BAWFG.com. I promise you, they did the same for my wife and I, 11 years ago when we bought our house. They'll do the same for you and take care of you and do a great job with it.
I was talking to somebody yesterday that's in the mortgage business, and I mentioned Bailey & Wood, and they said, they're a competitor, but when I have somebody that I'm talking to that has told me they've already pre-approved the Bailey & Wood, I know that they got it the right and most scrupulous way, and they got somebody that's going to take care of them.
Yeah, that's the ultimate compliment,
Right.
right? From a competitor, especially. So
Totally.
BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME, and they'll do a great job for you. Let's talk college football. We'll get to college basketball here in a little bit. I think Indiana's safe now. It was a pick-your-score game against Purdue. I think everybody knew it was a pick-your-score game. I don't know if I thought it was going to be as bad as they had 66 points and Purdue had 67 yards. I've never seen anything like that. Not even in an FCS type game.
Derek, there were a lot of people who thought Ohio State played dirty ball against Indiana when they, instead of taking a knee, punched it in and got one more score against Indiana late in that game. I don't think Indiana felt that way. I don't think Curt Cignetti felt that way, because what did Curt Cignetti do when they had a 4th and 8 of 59-0? Fakes it and continues to drive and goes on and goes up 66-0.
Well, the fake was earlier than that, wasn't it? I thought the fake was like 38-0.
Maybe it was,
Okay.
but they went. Yeah. I know they had a 4th down. They went.
They had Taven Jackson late in the game, but they had flipped the field
when
turnover.
When they were up 59-0, they went for it on a 4th down.
Okay.
I'm almost certain of it. But either way, what I'm getting at is Indiana knew they needed point margin and style points and a final push, and turns out that Indiana didn't need to do that in order to have Purdue decide to make a coaching change. I think that was already done.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a swipe at Ryan Waltz. It's just the reality. But Indiana knew that they had to make a final declaration. Then, it turns out, and a lot of this had happened earlier in the day because it was a night game, but there were other teams that tripped up and stubbed their toe, and it took fewer spaces away, and I think Indiana is very clearly in.
Yeah, A&M losing to Texas takes the scenario off the table where A&M would get in. Miami is going to fall below them. I still don't think that SMU is going to stay above them if they lose in the ACC championship game.
I think the ACC is a one-team league.
I think it. I think it very well could be, because I think they're going to look for a way to jump Alabama. I think SMU's in real trouble. I think Alabama, even being idle, would get that last spot over SMU if they lose to Clemson.
Clemson has South Carolina at home, who's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're okay. I mean, they're not great, but they're okay. They got a really good quarterback. Clemson leads that whole game. South Carolina scores in the last minute. Clemson gets the ball back, goes right down the field. All they need is a field goal to force overtime. They have two shots at the end zone to win it, and they get picked off.
Yeah.
And you think they're done. And then later that night, Miami blows a huge lead to Syracuse. Syracuse bounces. Miami's out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
So that puts Clemson back into the ACC title game. If Clemson wins the ACC title, they're in, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're a bid stealer. Clemson is a bid stealer.
That's correct.
Which is crazy to think that Clemson, with as good as they've been the last 10 years,
Derek,
would be
I'm going to go
stealer.
back to what I mentioned last week, because I do think this may come to fruition here. It is very possible, if you had to rank it right now, I'm going to name the conference. You tell me the team that instinctively you assume is going to win the conference championship and represent the conference.
Okay.
SEC.
Georgia.
Over Texas.
Yes, I still think so. I got to give them the benefit of the doubt because the head-to-head was so one-sided.
Okay.
Yeah.
ACC.
I think it's going to be SMU.
Okay. Big 12.
Arizona State.
Okay.
Iowa State, I'm not sure is that great.
Big 10.
Oregon. I don't see what the BFD is with Penn State.
BFD.
Yeah, I don't want to have to spell that out on the show. It's a family program.
So let's just say, for the sake of this point, that Texas does come back and beat Georgia. That would mean that all four conference champions in the first college football playoff are representative of teams that are new to the conference.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
How are you feeling if you're Texas A&M right now? Because forever you're like, hey, we're in the SEC, and you're not. And Texas comes in the first year. The rivalries renew. They go to Kyle Field. They kick their ass, and they're in the SEC championship game, which A&M has never done in 13 years or whatever. I mean, you're probably not feeling that great.
A&M is like Ole Miss, right? Or Iowa. A&M is the Iowa of the SEC, or formerly, every year they start out like 8-4, and you're like, oh my gosh, here they go. They're preseason ranked number 10.
A good program. They're not a great program.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah. Very rarely do they play national games of consequence, but they're always good.
A&M You and I, mutual friend that went to A&M. Who is it?
I don't know.
Greg Rakestraw, mutual friend with this person that we know that went to Texas A&M.
A&M?
Yes, who is it?
Arnie went to Texas Tech
I met this person through
from
you.
IndyCar.
I met this person through you and Greg.
Will went to A&M?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, Will Carroll, Texas A&M.
I thought his dad worked there, but I didn't know that he actually
went to
there.
school there.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Since it's the holidays, Derek,
Yeah.
I was doing shopping. I was online, and I was online actually because I was shopping for a sponsored child from Firefly, if I may take the 30 seconds here unsolicited to plug this. Firefly formerly was the Children's Bureau of Indiana. They have it was upwards of 1,000 children. Basically what Firefly is in a situation where middle of the night, domestic violence, house fire, whatever it might be, when authorities are taken to a home where a child is in need and they need to be removed from that home, Firefly is the place where they go, and they are housed, and they still go to the regular school. They still, everything, they try to make things as normal as possible, but they're housing these children and being introduced to children that are of need. And they do a Christmas wish list. In some of these kids, Derek, their wish list is they want socks. One kid said he wants a guitar because he made one for himself out of a box and shoestrings, but so he's learned the chords, but they don't make sound. So he wants a guitar.
Jeez.
So at any rate, I was doing shopping for Firefly. If you go to my Twitter account, which I know this is kind of convoluted, but just x.com/JakeQuery, the very top tweet, I have the link. If you would like to sponsor a child, you can still do so until the 11th of December, and they have 400 kids left that they need to get sponsored. You can make a monetary donation as well. Any organization that you're doing, if it's your local church, wherever it may be, if you are sponsoring somebody for the holidays, thank you very much. And I was doing some shopping on that, and when you shop for certain things, and then an ad pops up or whatever, and an ad popped up. I mean, I was shopping for kids, so naturally there were kids' gifts, and a kid gift came up, and I thought that's perfect for Derek, so I bought it for you.
So it's a kid's gift? What is it? Can you hand it to me? It's an orange shirt.
So this is yellow.
That's orange.
It's kind of a mix. Yeah,
It's not a mix. It's orange.
It's a lighter orange.
It's a road cone. It's road cone.
It's
orange.
no road cone.
Yes, it is.
No.
Here, let me hold this up for the crew. Here, give
road cone orange is.
Give me my gift.
I mean, it is a light orange. There's no doubt, but.
Well, the lights are right on it, guys. But
road cones are more like.
Yeah.
There's a Bailey and Wood. The Bailey and Wood orange is more of.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
You don't even know what it is.
Here's the thing. It's a wiffle ball shirt, just like the boxes that are made in Shelton, Connecticut, the home of wiffle ball, invented right in Fairfield County where I grew up. Shelton's right next to Trumbull. Dan Orlowski's hometown, Shelton, Connecticut. Won the state championship when we were both seniors. But my buddy Jay Barbero picked him off twice in a secret scrimmage. This is incredible. See, Jake does this, and Christmas is the time of year, the holidays is the time of year where this comes out. You think that Jake has an icy black heart, right? And that he treats me really poorly on this show, which is mostly true. 11 months out of the year, that's true. But the fact is, he bought me this shirt because he cares about me. There's no other reason. He knows I love wiffle ball, and he knows I love soft T-shirts, especially on my chest hair. It helps, especially on my nipples. And this is great to have this. So thanks, pal.
No. Listen, you get away from me.
Thank you, buddy.
If you ever touch me again after talking about chafed nipples,
I
we're going to have a serious issue on this show.
I appreciate you. I love you like a brother. I really do.
Okay,
like an older brother who I also hate. Let's fit in some college basketball as well, because I don't think there's anything much else to say.
It's a cool shirt, is it not?
It's an awesome shirt. Thank you. All seriousness, I don't think there's anything else to say about the college football playoff. I think the scenarios are pretty straightforward. And the championship scenarios, Jake, I think if let's say Penn State beats Oregon, they just flip spots. Or Texas beats Georgia, they just flip spots, right?
So your top four are going to be, let's just go with the teams that are in. Oregon's in, right?
Yeah.
Texas is in,
yes.
Right? Georgia is in.
Yes.
Who am I missing? Let's see.
Penn State's in.
Penn State's in.
Notre Dame's in.
Notre Dame is in, for sure.
I think IU's in. I think we could say that
I would
now.
agree Indiana's in.
I think Tennessee's in.
Yeah, Tennessee's
in.
Tennessee's in. And then after that,
ACC champ, Big 12 champ,
so we'll go
Group of 5 champ.
Big 12 champ.
Arizona State.
Who do they? It's Arizona State playing.
Iowa State.
Okay.
Iowa State's never, or it hasn't won that league since like 1902 or something. They haven't won a conference championship.
Neither is Arizona
like, ever.
State.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, yeah. Alabama's probably in, right?
Well, but that's the thing. I think the scenario is if SMU loses to Clemson, I think that opens the door for Alabama. But I think that's it. I think that's all. I don't think Miami's in. I don't think Ole Miss is in. And I don't think South Carolina. You're not going to jump South Carolina over two teams that beat them.
Yeah,
you're just not.
South Carolina is playing better now,
they are,
and I don't know.
You can't do it
In the NCAA tournament, like when you did that mock selection committee, the overnight pajama camp. I think at least back in the day, the way a team was playing in the last third of the season was a part of the criteria.
I remember last 10, right?
Yeah.
Last 10 games, I remember was a thing.
And in college football, if you were to shrink that down to last 4 or 5, whatever, South Carolina, I think, is playing pretty well.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I think they have 3 or 4 losses.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there are cases like I remember the Carson Palmer USC team in 2002. Ohio State won that championship with Maurice Claret. Best team in the country by the end of the year was 2002 USC. USC was the best team, but by the end of the year, but they had lost to Cal, I think, earlier in the year, and now you don't have to worry about that with a 12-team playoff, so that's good.
How about USC, by the way? How about Lincoln Riley?
No one does less with more. No one.
I mean, Lincoln Riley's making, what, $15 million a year? They bought him out at Oklahoma. They paid off his homes that he still owned in Oklahoma. And USC actually gave a check to the entire state of Oklahoma and got Lincoln Riley to
They raised their GDP.
Totally.
In the state of Oklahoma.
And, like, it's been a disaster, right?
No program does less with more.
And it was weird for me. We went to dinner Saturday night. And we sit down. We went to go watch, just the games in general. It's just a great atmosphere. So we go and we sit down, and I look up, and Notre Dame's playing USC, and it was a decent game, right?
It was, yeah.
I sat down just before the pick six that sealed it, and I look up, and I'm like, wait a minute, why does that say Big Ten on Fox?
Yeah.
And then I look at the USC helmet, and I see the Big Ten, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
They're not only.
Well, I think it was CBS, wasn't it?
Or
too,
CBS,
which makes it even weirder.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Because CBS has always been an SEC network.
But the thing that's weird is that USC not only is in the Big Ten, but they're an afterthought in the Big Ten.
Yeah, non-factor.
I mean, think about they're
going to go to the Pinstripe Bowl.
Can you imagine telling somebody 30 years ago, like, I'm looking into the future and I'm watching Nebraska and USC fight for 9th in the Big Ten when Indiana has a chance to win the league?
Yeah.
What?
It's great. I mean, any scenario last year, if you would have said Indiana fighting to win the league, would have been crazy. But Nebraska and USC, I mean, USC was such a superpower far more recently than Nebraska was, and to see them fall off, it's crazy. MTEs real quick. In Indiana really flopped.
Preseason tournaments. These are the Maui Invitational, the old Great Alaskan Shootout, which is no longer around. The different ones, they're called pre-conference tournaments.
Got run off the floor by Louisville, who has had a lot of injuries, and that loss is not going to age well. And run off the floor by Gonzaga, which in their defense, Gonzaga is one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the country. Probably. I know, it's really good. They battled back to beat Providence. Yay! So NIT-bound Providence. But overall, I mean, Indiana, they're like 70th or something in the net. They have no other chances. They play a bunch of cupcakes the rest of the way. They have no other chances for significant non-conference wins. I was adamant that Mike Woodson deserved a year 4 because the first 2 years were good. I don't care what you say. Maybe not to IU's usual standard, but to the standard of the 21st century IU basketball, Mike Woodson's first 2 years were fine. Last year, the bottom fell out, and if with this amount of talent and dipping into the transfer portal and the NIL the way that they did, if they can't turn this around, then he's got to go.
Here's what's unfortunate. In 2024, Mike Woodson comes from the NBA. Matter of fact, I think NBA's in his Twitter handle, right? They look like they had no idea how to play at pace. It's 2024. Louisville and Gonzaga went out there and just absolutely ran them off the floor, and Indiana looked like they had no idea what they were doing offensively. They had no scheme on what to do offensively. They had no concept as to how to stop transition. When they would get the ball and try to get it into a half court, they still didn't run very good sets. If you're going to slow it down, fine. At least do it methodically and be like Northwestern or, one of the teams that you see, not even Northwestern of today, but, teams that get you into half court and slow you down. Virginia, when they would do that. At least do it well. They didn't even do that. Then you have players that it's like, yeah, but they have these transfer players and 5-star recruits. Mackenzie Mbako is a good player every other game. Ballo's a good player every other game. Rice looked like a guy that was going to be a good floor leader for them, and then all of a sudden, like, he can't shoot.
They've
and
not
he
been
just keeps
very
shooting.
good.
Right?
Carlisle
as well, right?
Not been good enough.
There's no cohesiveness of parts working off of one another. It's just, okay, one of these
individual.
Pistons, one of these Pistons is going to fire, and then the other four are just going to sit there and coagulate. It is maddening. It is frustrating, and it's another reason why I'm a cynic when it comes to recruiting. Remember, Gabe Cupps was the Damon Bailey of Ohio.
Yeah, I'm not sure Gabe Cupps is a Big Ten player.
Gabe Cupps should be playing for Akron, right?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I don't see
nothing against him, but come on.
I don't see. I mean, I guess stranger things have happened, but I don't see it. I don't see it with Gabe Cupps. Then again, I was not a Trey Kaufman-Wren guy, and look at the player that he's become, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's what Purdue does. Their players get there and they get better.
Correct.
And they develop, and Indiana's just don't. I mean, I don't know, maybe if you gave Trey Galloway 18 more years at Indiana, he would become like an all-conference player, but he's been there for 15 now, and he's not. So, it's just a big difference. Purdue loses the 2-time National Player of the Year, and they go to San Diego, and it's business as usual for
Derek,
them. And for Indiana,
one thing that happened in that Indiana game, in the Indiana-Louisville game, I think it was Louisville, that jumped out at me. Indiana has a transfer from Illinois, right?
Yeah, Luke Goody.
Native of Fort Wayne area.
Yeah. Grew up a big IU fan.
Right. There's a timeout in that game. Indiana's just getting dunked on. I mean, they're getting blown off the floor by Louisville, right? They call a timeout, and the Indiana coaches, all like 17 of them, are just standing there. And Luke Goody is yelling at his teammates. Now, this is a guy that's been an Indiana basketball player for like 7 months.
Yeah.
And he had more heart, more passion about what in that moment was happening than anybody on that coaching staff and anybody that was an incumbent on that program. Now, that's not to say that that's representative of how it is all the time. But in that moment, it jumped out at me because I'm like, this guy at least grew up an Indiana fan. These mercenaries that are coming in that are just guns for hire, do you think they care about Indiana? No, they're like, how do I get to the league?
I will say this, though.
College basketball 2024.
I've seen that happen before where coaches are like, okay, you know what? Take a team leader or something and have them chew into them just so it's a new voice. But what strikes me is the person that was doing it. It's not Trey Galloway who's been in the program for or Anthony Leal or somebody like that who's been in the program forever. It's Luke Goody who's been in the program for 5 minutes.
It's a guy that still uses Waze to get back to his apartment.
I agree with you. That's what struck me kind of about that. But Indiana just it's never a talent problem with them. Never. They have talent. They've consistently had talent this century. It's a cohesion. It's making the parts fit, and the great programs in the country make all the pieces fit together, and Indiana just doesn't.
One of the things I think, Derek, that I don't know Mike Woodson. I know people that know him that say he's a very nice person, but he hasn't publicly portrayed himself. I'm not going to say that he's been unlikable, but he hasn't exactly been warm and likable, right?
He's been arrogant.
Yeah. I mean, can you...
Sorry, I took a bite of sandwich because I thought you were going to launch into something, and now I look like a chipmunk because I'm like, Mike, what's...
Well, that's why I asked what size shirt you wear now, because...
You really think that? Mm-hmm. I have not gained any weight. Yeah. I wear myself every morning.
Actually, you've lost weight. Somebody, Kathy Beatrice, who I love, has been a loyal listener to this show, and we love Kathy. Kathy Beatrice might have actually been our very first loyal fan. Mm-hmm. Fan's the wrong word. Friend. I mean, she's been a friend.
She came to all the remotes.
Yeah, she was great. She still is great. She and Debbie, I mean, they're great. But Kathy, every once in a while, will post Facebook memory photos. Mm. And there was one she posted. I'm like, can we just permanently burn this from the archives? I'm like 240.
Yeah.
And you were not fat by any stretch, but
I was lifting a lot more.
Well, you were robust.
When we started the show, well, actually, it wasn't until like that first year of the show when you were eating cheeseburgers and fries and all the remotes that we did. I think 2012 was when you...
That's probably right.
Yeah, boosted up. And then you started running. I think you started running for the mini.
Correct.
It was a Buddy Baker deal, wasn't it?
That's correct.
And that, I think, was the weight loss kind of trend. And you've kept it off since. And then, the ticker went and the whole deal. Maybe was stressed from that. And then you've kind of kept that up. But, yeah, I was like a little bit bulkier. But I was heavier, too.
Yeah, we both were heavier.
Yeah.
I was heavier than you, but we both were heavier.
I lost like 20 pounds before, and for me, 20 pounds is a lot, before I got married. That year.
And then, when we got laid off, you didn't eat for 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I almost had to yeah.
Every time it was time for dinner, instead of eating, you were calling me.
What are we going to do?
Literally. I'm like, my gosh.
Rake was on a couple of those calls, too.
Can I block the number,
I was
please?
calling Rake at like 10:30 at night, like, buddy, give me a job. What am I going to do? I was down bad.
Yeah.
I was down bad. We come back on the show, some quick hits to get to. We still have Bite or Bull Bleep and some other topics to tackle here on the show. Vince is mad that we're not going to talk Pacers, but I just I don't feel like talking Pacers. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride.
Welcome back. Bailey & Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. A couple of quick hits to get to. We were just on the college basketball topic. I think people, even out here, know this name, but especially where I grew up, he was a very, very big deal.
Let me guess. Where you grew up, very big deal. Oh. You're talking about somebody that passed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke Harnaseka?
Yeah. Passed away at the age of 99. I feel terrible for him because we're so close to 2025, and it could have said 1925 to 2025. Remember, you always said that about losing your job.
Yeah.
You wanted to. We got laid off in January of 20, so it made it look like we had that job for 10 years when we had it for 8.5. One of the icons of New York City basketball,
for sure,
because of what he did at St. John's. But really, I think one of the icons of the Big East Conference. John Thompson, Jim Boeheim, young Jim Boeheim, right, and then into a young Jim Calhoun into the 90s, but Luke Harnaseka and Chris Mullen and Malik Sealy and
Mark
Walter
Jackson.
Berry and, like all the great players that came through St. John's and memorable teams that he had. And he was also – I don't know anything about him as a person. I mean, I never met him or talked to him or – but listening to his interviews and hearing people talk about him, I guess he was just a wonderful man, too.
Luke Harnaseka, Louis Harnaseka, as a lot of people knew him, when I first started really getting into college basketball, and listen, he was obviously a major staple within the game and within New York City basketball long before I was around. But I think I speak for a lot of people of my age and saying that when I think about like the early advents of ESPN and Big Monday or Big Tuesday and the Big East being on, and in that time in the mid 80s, the Georgetown and St. John's rivalry was huge because they were the two creme de la creme programs of not just the Big East, but of college basketball. And John Thompson and Louis Harnaseka always had the sweater. And the famous moment where they faced each other and John Thompson came out with his sport coat and his towel on and then opened it up and showed that he was wearing the sweater. It was such a fun – he was just a character. Not to the level of like a Raleigh Massimino was a character at Villanova at the same time, same era. But I think the fact that – and Derek, I think this was lost on me as a young person. But Luke Harnaseka probably represents very similar to what Jerry Tarkanian did in the fact that you looked at his program – and I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that Chris Mullen or Mark Jackson or Bill Winnington and those guys were non-collegiate individuals. I don't mean that. But you looked at it and you're like, yeah, these guys look like they're going to St. John's just because of basketball in New York City and whatever else. But there's something to be said for utilizing basketball towards giving an opportunity, not necessarily for those guys, but just in general to young people to introduce them to experiences of life out of the footprint of some of the things that maybe held back a lot of people in their neighborhood. And he was one of those guys that did that. He is, I know this for a fact. People that were influential or cut their teeth through New York City basketball revered Luke Harnaseka until the very end. And he still stayed in touch with them. He talked on the phone regularly with people and loved basketball and was for a little guy, was a giant figure in the game. Yeah, and a big smile. He always had that kind of toothy smile, and you'd see him in the stands even into the 90s. I mean, I remember a Duke St. John's game at the Garden. It couldn't have been that. It was when Coach K was still there, so it was 4 or 5 years ago. And Louis Harnaseka was. I always liked St. John's. Yeah, always liked it. I liked St. John's because I hated Syracuse and UConn. Yeah, you know what I mean. And a lot of the other powers of the Big East. I really didn't like Georgetown, even though I missed that era when they were at their peak because I was very, very young. Like the '85 team, I was 2 years old, 3 years old, whatever. Do you know what's unique about the '85? Here's a great trivia question for young Derek Schultz. Rakestraw will know this answer. The 85 Final Four took place in Lexington, Kentucky. Featured 3 teams from the Big East. Who was the outlier?
Okay, well, it was Georgetown, Villanova, and St. John's because Villanova beat Georgetown. Houston?
Very close.
Okay.
Very close. About as close as you can get. Just in terms of mantra, branding, everything. Very close.
I hit me with it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
William Bedford, Keith Lee,
Yeah.
Baskerville Holmes, and Memphis State.
The second that they got eliminated, the NCAA sent them a letter that said you have to vacate now immediately, right? I mean,
That's
those Memphis teams,
That's probably right.
Dana Kirk, right? Like that.
The
that was,
Wild Wild West,
Yeah,
baby.
that was. Yeah, forget it. I mean, that was NIL before NIL.
Yeah, you're right.
Big time with those teams. Another quick hit: Indiana Fever schedule release. They're going to open against the Sky. That'll be a lot of fun. May 17th. They play them 5 times. 44 games now. So they did 20 last year. Remember, the Fever were an even 20 and 20. 44 games now, and the league growing and attention and all of that. So it's been
Should have
great.
bought my season tickets a year ago. I dropped the ball there.
Last quick hit here, and I wish that we had this for you for Thanksgiving week, but researchers are recommending that everyone go on a fart walk after eating. Could be very good for your health. Walking after a meal or a fart walk gets your bowels moving, which can reduce bloating and acid reflux, potentially help prevent diabetes, according to experts at the University of Washington. Research suggests that walking within an hour of eating can help regulate blood sugar levels, prevent blood sugar spikes that over time could lead to insulin resistance and diabetes as well. A gastroenterologist, Christopher Daman, who is an associate professor at the UW School of Medicine, said in a recent blog post that fart walks have real benefits. So next time you have a big meal. Next time I go to Hoagies and Hops and I get a cheesesteak and a bag of chips and a beer from Chili Water, I'm just going to walk around Midtown and go for a fart walk. And we could go, next time we go and have lunch together, we can go on fart walks together.
What are we doing here? Listen, let me just clean this up, okay? Researchers at the University of Washington have concluded that after a hearty meal, it might be good to take a walk. That's because simply taking a walk, come on. Taking a walk allows for the physical exercise to get all of your body moving, including aiding in the digestion process, which ultimately can lead to a reduction in acid reflux and other complications that could come. A walk is usually encouraged solo, but it should take no more than 10 or 15 minutes around here.
We've all this is a guy's show, right? Like this is an adult show.
I just mentioned Kathy and Deb that watch the show all the time.
Well, no. It's an adult show.
April?
So we talk about adult issues and things like that. We've all been there before. Like you go to like a fancy dinner or something like that, and you're around people you don't know or a conference, and then finally you're walking to your car and you realize that you're all alone, and you just let it all go out. Like you hit the release hatch. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like everybody does this. So it's good to not hold all of that gas in, and you release the gaseousness. Right, before you get in your car, because you don't want your car to stink. And sometimes I'll even stand outside my car for a while just to make sure that it wafts off. And then you get in the car, and then you drive home, and then you feel so much better.
I'd like to thank Bailey and Wood for being a loyal sponsor and the title sponsor of this program. And Bailey and Wood, who does great things in the community and makes sure that people are getting the best rate on their home.
I don't know why we can't just have an adult
contribute
discussion about this.
in great community aspects and areas. I'd like to thank Hoagies and Hops, which is fabulous. It's become truly a great year-round tradition to go in on a Saturday or Sunday when games are going on and there's energy and atmosphere and people are having a cold beer at Chili Water. Maybe you're going on your way to a Butler game and you get the Zaire, which is awesome, or the Zerns, which we just ate, which is a great sandwich. I'd like to thank them for being involved in this program. Chateau Kitchens, which has done a great job of renovating Derek's basement and other such areas where apparently he needs privacy. I'd like to thank them for their loyalty to this program. And for that matter, IU Indy, who brings us our Jags report each and every week.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'd like to thank them, and I'd like to apologize for the sophomoric nature and theme that this show has taken in the last 10 to 15
minutes.
He's
a gastroenterologist, which is what he's a fart doctor. Right. If you're at the end of the day, if you were describing to somebody what you did for a living, you wouldn't say gastroenterologist. You'd say I'm a fart doctor.
There's nobody that would say that.
Like that's how you would explain it.
No one would say that.
So it's science.
What if he's a gynecologist?
It's science. It's
then what?
Well, come on. That's where we're going to go with this show?
I'm just saying.
Let's get that in post, Vince. That's not appropriate for this show. All right, 3, 2, 1.
You're talking about airing out your car.
3, 2, 1. IU Indy Jags report time. Jake, take it away.
Thank you. Basketball season is upon us, and for IU Indy, both on the women's and men's side, that means getting ready to take on Horizon League play. One's going to do it at home, one's going to do it on the road. I'm not sure if we have videotape, but let me tell you what has been going on with the Jags on the basketball side of things. We will begin with women's basketball. IU Indy women's basketball. One game last week against Eastern Illinois in Charleston. They did drop that game, but they are getting set now to open up into Horizon League play. They're going to be doing so on the road at Green Bay. That is taking place tomorrow night. Then they return home to host Purdue-Fort Wayne. That game is December 11th inside the Jungle. That is their holiday hoops game. So December 11th at home, the IU Indy women's basketball program taking on Purdue-Fort Wayne. Men's side of thing, good week for them. Good week for the men's side of thing. Men's side of things, I should say. They had a great showing last week. They won their first road game of the year against Alabama A&M. That is the alma mater of Dr. Eugene White, by the way. Paul Zielinskis had 32 points in Monday's win. The Jags returned home for Thanksgiving and took on Trinity Christian College, which you're seeing right there. They got a win there, 106-49, matching a program record 19 three-point shots in the win. Jarvis Walker had 20 points. The Jags open conference play hosting Green Bay. That is Wednesday. That means tomorrow night it is a Color Rush red-out game, and then on Saturday night they host Northern Kentucky for their holiday hoops game. Both the men and women's holiday hoops games, the first 150 fans receive IU Indy ornaments. And the Jags will be hosting a toy drive as well. Please bring a toy. Again, this is all going to be at the Jungle on the IUPUI campus. IUindyJags.com/tickets. IUindyJags.com/tickets. You're talking about not only Division I basketball and local products, but, of course, Paul Corsaro on the men's side of things, a local product himself as the head coach, first year of the program, and things heading in the right direction on both the women and men's side as they are optimistic heading into the Horizon League. And would love for you folks to come out and support local product, college athletes. Great way to introduce as well young people to just the college atmosphere in general by checking out the Jags in action at the Jungle. Great and always electric on-campus facility there for their games.
Yeah, Paul's a really impressive guy.
Great.
I'm not surprised at all that he's off to a good start. I think he's going to have a lot of success there. I really do. And
he probably refers to his friends in the medical field as gastroenterologists or whatever.
Fart
that was.
docs.
No, he would
Fart
not
docs.
say that because he's a mature individual.
We come back on the show, Chateau Kitchen's Buy It or
Do
Boldly.
we even know if we're coming back on
And
the
we'll
show
wrap
after
up.
that?
At this point, they haven't kicked us out. All the stupid crap that we've said on this program.
Probably fair.
We're 200 and whatever episodes in. It's Corey and Schultz. Back to Taya Bowen at next here on the ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC,
Nice snap.
mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
And we're back, final time. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Chateau Kitchens and ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook. The home renovation experts, anything on the interior of your home. Kitchens, but bathrooms, basements, anything. They can do it for you. Stephen Moore and his crew are awesome. We've had so many projects and so many great experiences with Chateau. And the next thing is our master bath is about 8 years old. We're not doing it this year or next year, but like 2026.
Is that the one with the two showers?
Probably. Yeah. But 10 years is about the shelf life for a bathroom. And Chateau didn't do the original bathroom.
Okay.
So we had a couple of guys in a truck, and they didn't do a very good job. So if you want to avoid a couple of guys in a truck and you want to get a real team, project manager, designer.
I mean, they do great work.
The
no
whole
question.
deal. Call up Chateau Kitchens, ChateauKitchens.com. And go on Facebook and Instagram. Like I said, before and after pictures. You don't need me to tell you. Look for it for yourself because they do unbelievable work. Statement one, Jake. Buy it or bold bleep. The Colts will finish 9-8 and just miss the playoffs. That'd be the ultimate Chris Ballard Colts.
9-8 would be 3-1, right?
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
I mean, if I was betting on it, 9-8 is the play.
Right.
9-8 is the play, not 4-0. But you know what? Out of the bye, Richardson looks like a different quarterback the last 3 weeks.
It is. I mean,
I so desperately want to believe.
When you
in
watch the way that he's able to move the ball, you're like, how are they not just
I want to
controlling
believe
games?
in that. I just so desperately want to, and this is just blind hope, but I'm going to say bull bleep and just say they go 4-0.
Okay.
But there isn't a lot of reason to give me hope that that's going to happen with the way that they've been life and death against two bad teams. The Jets are bad. The Patriots are bad. That's a bad football team. And they were very, very lucky. They were outplayed all afternoon. They were very lucky to win that game.
I have one for you.
Yeah.
Buy it or Bullschultz. The college football national champion will be somebody who was new to their conference this year.
So who do I have? SMU, Texas, Oregon. Who am I missing?
Arizona
State. Is that it?
Um,
Anybody else that can get in that's not original member? I don't think so. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still going to probably take the other 8. I think Oregon is really good. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're some unbeatable
Okay, how
team.
about this one then? Buy it or Bullschultz. The college football national champion will be winning their first title in at least 5 years.
So you're taking Alabama off the table, you're taking Georgia off the table, and you're taking, well, Michigan's not going to make the playoff.
Clemson.
And Clemson. Yeah, I'll say yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't know that Alabama's going to make it. So we might only be talking about Georgia or the field there.
Okay.
Even though I think Georgia can win the whole thing. I think this is as wide open as I ever remember a college football season being. I don't think there's a great team. I think Ohio State's a great team with a coach that they're going to have to fire.
You think they're going to fire him?
Oh, I think they have to. You can't. The only goals for Ohio State every year, are win the national championship and beat Michigan.
Here's my complaint with Ryan Day. We didn't even get into this topic, but for me, all I need to see if I'm the athletic director or if I am anybody that is of influence at Ohio State University is the video of Ryan Day standing on the field, and when that brawl's a bit of when that scuffle breaks out, and Michigan and their players and their coaches are trying to get their players to break it up and get back on their side of the field. Ryan Day is standing there doing absolutely nothing. He has zero leadership in that moment. He had no idea what to do. He looked afraid of his own players. He looked like a guy that had no control over his program while his team just got beat to their arch rival for the 4th straight time, and he stood there and didn't know what to do.
Oh, I think he was broken. I think he's just mentally broken. I think he was despondent.
That's possible.
Yeah, I think it was him, but his mind was floating outside of his body. Like, I think he's thinking to himself, oh, my God, I can't believe that this just happened again. But this whole idea, like Rich Eisen, who's a Michigan grad, did this thing, like the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry is dead. Ohio State dominated that rivalry for 20 years. Okay? Yeah, like Ohio State won, I think,
the fact that
17 of 19.
Give me a break. He's saying stuff like that because the rivalry is very much alive.
Yeah, I mean, good for Michigan. Michigan deserves the victory laps, and they finally had a class come through to not lose to Ohio State. But from the time I started college to the time James entered kindergarten, Michigan won that game twice. And one of the years was the year that Tressel got fired, remember? And they had the sanctions, and they had I think Fickle was the interim coach, wasn't he? Luke Fickle?
That might be right, yeah.
And one of them was those years. The other one was Marlon Jackson. Marlon Jackson's team ended up beating him. Final one, Bite or Bull Bleep. Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback. Bite or Bull Bleep?
I'm going to buy it because I think with the right system and with the right coach, which he has, they can win.
He's been better than I thought. I'll give him that, and we'll see next Sunday. Thanks.
Is Drake May?
To our great sponsors. I think so. I like Drake May. Chateau Kitchens, Hoagies and Hops, Bailey and Wood Financial Group, IU Indy Athletics, and
Chili Water.
Hoagies and Chili Water Tap Room as well. For Jake, I'm Derek. We will see you next time here on Query and Schultz.
We're not going for a walk.
Here on the ISC Sports Network. Fart walk time. Let's get a couple of fart docs on the show.
At Bailey and Wood.